Hi guys, Aka here. So, we have Maurice, the latest siege general in Evony. And this guy has been causing a bit of commotion since his release. So, we want to take a look at him here to see if he's really worth all the hype. And then, of course, we're going to compare him to some of the other top generals that we have and see where he stands on the stats. So, let's jump right in. So, we have Maurice here, and if we look at his main skill, he gets siege attack 45%, defense 35%, and HP 35%. Now, the good thing about his main skill, which is part of what's causing all the hype around the guy, is that he is when leading the army, which means that he can be used in pretty much every situation. So that's a big plus for him. All right, now let's look at his specialties. If you go through the specialties and you put everything together, Maurice comes out with a total of 75% attack, 50% defense, and 40% HP. Alrighty, now if we go to his ascension and you put all the stats in his ascension together, Maurice gets 75% attack, 30% defense, and 10% HP. Now, when you put all of his stats together, Maurice comes out with a total of 195% attack, 115% defense, and 85% HP. Those are good stats. Those are decent stats. Now, let's compare Maurice to some of the other generals that we have. Now, as you can see here, Maurice is doing very well. However, when you compare him to Gunther, with the exception of attack, I think Gunther is edging him out quite a bit. He's got 5% extra attack, but he's falling a bit behind Gunther with the defense and the HP. But he's still holding his own. Aside from this, Maurice has the advantage that the majority of his stats are not qualified. Okay, and by not qualified, I mean they are not attacking or marching. So, his skills are very versatile in all situations, which might make him a more useful general than Gunther, who is primarily an attacking general. In addition to that, Maurice has another thing that is going for him, in that he has higher march size than Gunther. Okay? If we look at the march size that we get from the generals, this is what we have. And as you can see, Maurice has higher march size than Gunther does. It's a 6% difference, but it's still something. Now, with that being said, Gunther does have the advantage on base stats. Okay? Now, if we see here, these are the base stats you get with Maurice, and these are the base stats that you get with Gunther. Gunther's is significantly higher, meaning that as you level up the generals, the 5% gap that you have between Maurice and Gunther is going to diminish significantly if it doesn't disappear altogether. So, all in all, from the indications that we have here of the stats and taking into consideration that these are siege generals, okay, so march size is not, in my opinion, such a critical factor for siege generals. And because of that, I still feel that Gunther is a better siege general than Maurice. But more on that as we go along. Now, of course, Maurice has his covenant, okay? These are the generals that you need for his covenant. Fairly okay. But I'd like to make a quick note here. Does it annoy you guys when you get a general's covenant and there's a useless general that is in there that you would not have gotten under any other normal circumstances? Okay? Charles the Great. I would never have picked up that guy. But because Maurice was released, I had to go in the tavern and start raiding the tavern until I got him. A bit annoying, but anyway. So, if we go through his covenant, and it's an okay covenant, all right? It's not too bad. This is the summary of the stats that he gets from his covenant. And it's okay. All right? When you compare his covenant to a general like Gunther's, for example, as you can see here, I would say that they're pretty much round about the same level. Not much difference there on the covenants, in my opinion. Now, all the stuff that we've said about Maurice, okay, he's looking decent on the stats. He's got a decent covenant. His base stats are a bit low, but, he's got decent stats overall. All of that is all fine and good. However, Maurice has a problem. And that problem comes from his compatibility. And we're talking specifically about his compatibility with skill books. Because, unfortunately, as you can see right here, Maurice cannot take the Siege Attack book, which is a bit of a bummer. Again, that's more reason why I feel that Gunther is a better attacking siege general than Maurice. So, that's the issue with Maurice. He can take all the other books. So, yeah, you need to make a bit of adjustment if you're using Maurice in that sense. Okay, so that's his compatibility with skill books. If we come out to check his compatibility with other generals, we have him here. And the first general that we're going to check Maurice with is Petronas. And as you can see here, Maurice and Petronas are compatible. That's great. Now, the next general that we want to check, Pallas. Okay? Pallas is compatible with Maurice. That's good. Now, the next one, Mu Qinying. Unfortunately, Mu and Maurice are not compatible. So, no M&Ms for you on this one, unfortunately. All right. So, the next general that we want to check is Hunyadi. And as you can see, Maurice and Hunyadi are compatible. So, that's good. Moving on, the next general we want to look at, Raimundo. Okay? And unfortunately, Raimundo is a no-go. So, yeah, that's why it is. All right. Now, the next general that we want to look at, Gunther. And as you can see, Maurice and Gunther are compatible. So, this looks like it will be a very good combination. Provided that, if you had Melisande, would Maurice be giving you more buffs than Melisande? So, those are some considerations that we have to go into. And while we're on that topic, something I forgot to mention, if you're going to be using Maurice as your main general, then it's important for you to pay attention to the fact that his march size, okay? His march size is in his third ascension, as you can see here, and his final ascension, okay? So, the 16% that we showed for Maurice, you would have to fully ascend him for you to get that full 16%. Unfortunately, he doesn't have any march size in his covenant. He doesn't have any march size in his specialties. So, that's an important thing for you to keep in mind when you're looking at the various combinations that you can do with Maurice. Now, of course, we didn't cover all the possible general combinations that are available. So, if you know of any prominent combinations, please feel free to drop them down in the comments. Thank you very much in advance. So, now that we've gone through the compatibility with Maurice, what we normally do at this point is that we go to look at his stats as an assistant. And for anyone that is interested, here are the stats comparing Maurice to some of the other generals that we have as assistants. However, I'd like us to shift focus a bit, because part of the reason why there's so much buzz around Maurice is not just the fact that his main skill is when leading the army, and a lot of his stats are unqualified. It's not just the fact that he has decent stats, but because of the fact that his stats are unqualified and he has decent stats, he can be used on the wall. That's part of the main reason why there's so much buzz around him. Now, what I'd like to do is to compare Maurice to Leo III. Leo III is presently the most popular wall assistant when you're trying to focus on siege. So, we put them side by side, and here are the stats for Maurice as an assistant And here are the stats for Leo the Third as an assistant. And as you can pretty much see, Maurice is looking better with the stats. However, the key problem that we mentioned earlier, Maurice cannot take the siege attack book. Leo the Third can. So we factor that into the stats, and here is what the stats are looking like now. But remember, we also have to factor in the covenant of Maurice. So if we take the stats from Maurice's covenant and we factor them in, here are what the stats look like. Still, Maurice is looking better than Leo the Third. And these are for siege stats. So if you have Leo the Third as your wall assistant and you're considering switching to Maurice, this is what you are going to gain in siege stats if you switch your general to Maurice. Okay, that's cool. Now, unfortunately, there's a trade-off. And if you're going to switch out Leo the Third, this is what you are going to be losing in stats. So, at this point, there are basically two questions. One, are you comfortable with this trade-off? Are you comfortable with the siege stats you're going to gain with Maurice versus the stats for other troops that you're going to lose by replacing Leo the Third? The second thing, are you going to be able to replace what you've lost? Once you can answer those two questions, then you will know whether you should go ahead and make the switch to Maurice. So, all in all, I would say that Maurice is a decent siege general. And I would say that he is a decent option as a wall assistant. For me, those are the two big takeaways with Maurice. Now, at the time of recording this video, Shalon's qualifiers are going on. SVS is coming up right around the corner. So, for anyone looking to make the switch to Maurice, now is an opportune time. If you can afford to make the switch, the timing is good. While we are on that note, as we mentioned the topic of SVS, perhaps you find yourself in a situation where getting SVS points is difficult for you. Maybe you play SVS, you get some points here and there when you get lucky, but you find it difficult to put up the kind of points on the leaderboard that you would like to put. If that's the case, and you would like to get more points in SVS, you can check out this video here, which goes through the various ways to get points from low risk to high risk. And if you combine some of the options in there, it should help you score more points in SVS. So be sure to check it out. That's it for me, guys. Thank you very much. Aka signing out.